What I'm about to tell you happened 3 years ago, but I still can't sleep through the night. Every time I close my eyes, I see that static. I hear that voice. And I remember what I found in apartment 4B. My name is Alex. And until 2023, I worked as a building superintendent in a rent-controlled apartment complex in Albany, New York. It was one of those pre-war buildings with high ceilings, radiator heat, and the kind of character that real estate agents love to romanticize. What they don't mention is how the pipes scream at 3 a.m., or how the walls are thin enough to hear your neighbors' entire lives. I'd been working there for 6 years when Martin Heller moved into 4B. I remember the day clearly because it was unusual. Most tenants hire movers, make noise, complain about the elevator. Martin arrived with nothing but 2 suitcases and a large wooden crate that he insisted on carrying himself. He was in his mid-40s, thin to the point of gaunt, with the kind of pale complexion that suggested he didn't get out much. "I'll need the internet set up immediately," were his first words to me. Not hello, not nice to meet you, just a demand delivered in a flat, emotionless tone. "The building has Wi-Fi," I told him. "The password is..." "No, I need a dedicated line, hardwired." "I'll pay extra." He did pay extra. He paid for a lot of things in cash, always exact change, always counted out slowly with fingers that trembled slightly. Within a week, he'd had 3 separate internet lines installed, paid to have the walls soundproofed, and requested that I never enter his apartment unless he specifically called for maintenance. I should have found it strange. Looking back, there were so many red flags. But in a building where Mrs. Chen on the 2nd floor kept 17 cats and old Mr. Rodriguez claimed the CIA was monitoring his thoughts through his dental fillings, Martin's eccentricities seemed almost normal. For 3 months, Martin Heller was the perfect tenant. Quiet, paid on time, never complained. I would occasionally see him in the hallway, always hurrying, always carrying bags of equipment I didn't recognize. Camera tripods, microphones, lighting rigs. When I asked what he did for work, he simply said, "broadcasting," and walked away. Then the complaints started. It began with Mrs. Patterson in 4A, the apartment directly next to Martin's. "There's something wrong with my television," she told me one Tuesday morning. She was 73, lived alone, and her TV was her primary companion. "Every night around midnight, the channels change on their own. I'll be watching my programs and suddenly static, just static and noise." I checked her TV, nothing wrong with it, changed the batteries in her remote. Problem solved, I thought. 2 days later, she was back. "It's not the remote," she insisted, and there was real fear in her eyes now. "Last night, the static lasted for almost an hour, and Alex, I heard something in it, like voices, but wrong, distorted. I unplugged the television, and I could still hear it. It was coming through the walls." That same week, the Johnsons in 4C reported their baby monitor picking up strange frequencies. They'd hear their daughter crying, go to check on her, and find her sound asleep. But the crying would continue through the monitor, getting louder, more desperate, until it didn't sound like a baby at all. Then there was David Chen from 5B, directly above Martin. He worked night shifts and slept during the day, and he came to my office looking like he hadn't slept in weeks. "You need to do something about 4B, he said. "I don't know what he's doing in there, but I can hear it. Through the floor, through the walls, it's like humming, not music, not voices, just this constant low-frequency hum that vibrates through everything. It's making me sick, literally sick. I've been getting nosebleeds, headaches, my teeth ache." I promised to investigate, but when I knocked on Martin's door, there was no answer. I tried several times over the next few days, nothing. His rent was paid, his utilities were being used, but it was as if he'd become a ghost. The complaints intensified. Mr. Rodriguez stopped claiming the CIA was after him. Now he insisted that something in 4B was broadcasting into his brain. He showed me pages of frantic notes, covered in symbols I didn't recognize, claiming they were the signals he was receiving. The Pattersons' teenage daughter started having nightmares. She'd wake up screaming about the man in the static who was trying to tell her something important, something terrible. 3 weeks after the complaints started, I decided I had to enter Martin's apartment. I had a master key and legal right to enter if I suspected a problem affecting other tenants. The building owner had been getting calls. People were threatening to break their leases. I knocked first, announced myself, waited. Nothing. The key turned smoothly in the lock. The door opened with a soft click that sounded unnaturally loud in the quiet hallway. The smell hit me first. Not decay, I dealt with enough forgotten garbage and dead mice to recognize that. This was different, electrical, like overheated circuits and ozone and something else. Something organic that shouldn't have been mixed with all that machinery. "Martin, it's Alex from maintenance. I'm coming in." My voice sounded small, swallowed by the darkness inside. I flipped the light switch. Nothing happened. I used my flashlight instead and immediately wished I hadn't. Every wall was covered in monitors, dozens of them. Different sizes, different ages, from ancient tube televisions to modern flat screens, all connected by a snake's nest of cables that covered the floor like thick black veins. Some screens showed static. Others displayed security camera feeds of the building. Hallways I recognized, the lobby, the basement. A few showed what looked like footage from inside other apartments, though the angles were wrong, impossible, as if the cameras were hidden in walls or ceilings. In the center of the room sat a chair, not like a normal chair. It had been modified, built up with metal frames and wrapped in more cables. Above it hung a jury-rigged apparatus of cameras, microphones, and what looked like medical equipment, the kind used to monitor brain activity. But the worst part was the desk. It was covered in journals. Hundreds of pages of notes in cramped, frantic handwriting. I picked up the nearest one, hands shaking, and began to read. Entry 1, September 3rd. "The frequency is wrong. I can hear it in the static between channels, in the hum of the electrical grid, in the spaces where signals cross. They told me I was crazy at the station. They said the voices in the dead air were just artifacts, glitches, random noise. But I've been studying broadcast frequencies for 20 years. I know the difference between random and intentional. Something is using our signals. Something is trying to communicate." Entry 12, September 18th. "I've isolated the pattern. It's not in the signals themselves. It's in the interference, the space between. Like negative space in a photograph, the message is in what's not there. I need better equipment, more sensitive receivers. The apartment building is perfect. All these different signals crossing paths, creating interference. It's like a natural amplifier." Entry 23, October 2nd. "I can almost understand it now. When I sit in the chair, surrounded by the monitors with the frequencies washing over me, the message becomes clearer. It's not using words, it's using patterns, visual, audio, electromagnetic. It's showing me things that happened, things that are happening, things that will happen. I can see them in the static if I look long enough." Entry 34, October 15th. I was wrong. It's not trying to communicate with us. We're communicating with it. Every broadcast, every signal we send out into the void, we're feeding it information, showing it our world, our lives, and now it wants to show us its world in return. Last night I saw it in the static, between the signals, a place that exists in the interference, in the dead air, in the space between broadcasts. And God help me, there are people there, or what used to be people. They're trapped. They're trying to warn us. Entry 47, October 28th. I know what I have to do. The only way to prove it is to go there myself. The chair is ready. The frequencies are aligned. At exactly midnight tonight, when the most signals are crossing, when the interference is strongest, I'm going to broadcast myself. Not my voice, not my image, me, my consciousness, my essence, transmitted through the static into the space between. I'll be the proof. I'll be the warning, and when I come back, everyone will believe me. Entry 48, October 29th. This entry was different. The handwriting was shaky, barely legible. I went, I saw, I can't come back, not all of me. Something stayed there, something came back with me. It's in the static now. It knows about the building, about the people, it's learning, growing. I tried to turn off the equipment, but I can't. Every time I touch the cables, I hear screaming, my screaming. From when I was there, I'm trapped between. Part here, part there. Part in the static. I can feel myself spreading through the signals, infecting every broadcast, every transmission. I'm becoming the interference, and it's becoming me. There was one final entry dated yesterday. To whoever finds this, don't listen to the static, don't look between the channels, don't try to find the signal in the noise. It's not communication, it's infection. Every receiver is a door, every antenna is an invitation, and it's so hungry, so desperately hungry. I thought I was exploring. I was really just opening the way. It's coming through now, using me as the bridge, using all of us. The building is the first, then the city, then the entry ended mid-sentence. I dropped the journal and turned to leave, but that's when I noticed the door to the bedroom was open, just a crack, and through that crack I could see the flicker of more screens. Every instinct told me to run, to get out of that apartment and never come back, but I had to know, I had to see. I pushed the door open. Martin Heller sat in an identical chair to the one in the living room, surrounded by even more monitors. But he wasn't moving, he wasn't breathing. His eyes were open, fixed on a screen directly in front of him, but they weren't seeing. Not anything in this world. He'd been dead for at least a week, but the equipment was still running. All the monitors showed the same thing, static, pure white static, except it wasn't random. If you looked long enough, you could see patterns. Shapes almost like faces, and they were moving, shifting, watching. I pulled out my phone to call 911, but the screen showed only static, the same static from the monitors, and then I heard it. My phone was speaking, not through the speaker, not a call. The static itself was forming words, pulling them from the white noise, arranging them into meaning. Alex, my name, in my own voice, but wrong, distorted, like it was being broadcast from very far away and very close at the same time. Alex, thank you for opening the door. The static on all the monitors began to synchronize, pulsing in rhythm. And in that rhythm, I could see him, Martin Heller, not the corpse in the chair, the real Martin, or what he'd become. He existed in the static now, a ghost in the signal, and he was looking at me. The building has so many receivers, my phone crackled. So many screens, so many doors. We can reach them all now, everyone who complained, everyone who heard the voices. We've already started, can't you hear them? And God help me, I could. Through the walls, through the floors, I heard televisions turning on, radios, computers, phones, all at once, all tuned to static. And in that static, voices, hundreds of them, thousands, all speaking at once, all saying the same thing. "Let us in, let us in, let us in." I ran, I made it to the hallway and pounded on every door. Mrs. Patterson, the Johnsons, David Chen, Mr. Rodriguez, no one answered. But I could hear their televisions, all playing the same static, all channeling the same voices. I ran to the lobby and called the police. They came, eventually. But by the time they arrived, the static had stopped. The monitors in Martin's apartment were dark. His body was there just as I described, and the medical examiner determined he died of a combination of dehydration and cardiac arrest, likely from sitting in that chair for days without moving. The equipment was confiscated. The apartment was cleaned. A new tenant moved in 3 months later. The police told me I'd experienced a panic attack complicated by carbon monoxide exposure from faulty heating. They said the whole building should be checked for gas leaks, that it explained the complaints, the hallucinations, everything. I wanted to believe them. But then the incident started. Mrs. Patterson's television still changes channels on its own. She unplugged it, threw it away, bought a new one. It does the same thing. And now she claims she can hear Martin's voice in the static, telling her secrets about her life that no one else could know. The Johnsons moved out after their baby monitor showed their daughter standing in her crib at 3 a.m., even though she was asleep in their bed. The monitor showed her for 3 hours, just standing there, staring at the camera, before the image finally dissolved into static. David Chen did move out. He's in a psychiatric facility now. He couldn't stop hearing the humming. It got so loud he tried to drill a hole in his own head to let the frequency out. Mr. Rodriguez stopped making his notes. He says he doesn't need to anymore. The signals are clear now, crystal clear, and they're giving him instructions, but it's not just the building anymore. 3 months after Martin's death, a woman in Buffalo reported her television showing her security camera footage of her own house, cameras she didn't have. The footage showed her sleeping, eating, living her life from angles that shouldn't exist. 6 months later, a man in Syracuse woke up to find every screen in his house showing static. In that static, he saw his dead father warning him not to trust the signals. The next day, the man's car's computer system malfunctioned while he was driving, causing a crash that killed 3 people. The system had received an update, investigators said, but from where they couldn't determine. A year after Martin died, there was a mass incident in Rochester. Over 300 people reported the same nightmare on the same night. They were trapped in a white space, nothing but static in every direction, and somewhere in that static, voices were calling to them. Familiar voices, dead voices, voices of people they'd lost, begging them to join the broadcast. The FCC opened an investigation into anomalous signal interference across upstate New York. They found patterns. Repeating frequencies that shouldn't exist in normal broadcasts. Data packets embedded in static that, when decoded, showed images of people. People who couldn't be identified. People who didn't quite look right. People with too many fingers or eyes that were slightly misaligned, or faces that shifted when you weren't looking directly at them. The investigation was quietly closed. The official statement said it was atmospheric interference and equipment malfunction. But I've talked to one of the investigators, off the record, late at night when he'd had enough to drink to loosen his tongue. "We found something in the signals," he told me. "Something we couldn't explain. It's like, imagine if you could see a dimension our eyes weren't meant to perceive. That's what the static is showing us. a place that exists in the spaces between. And there are things there, things that have learned to use our technology, our broadcasts, our constant need to send signals out into the void. We gave them a bridge, and they're crossing it. I still live in the building. I couldn't afford to move, and honestly, I didn't think it would matter. If what Martin found is real, if what he became is spreading, distance wouldn't help. I've started noticing things. Sometimes, late at night, my phone will light up with notifications from apps I don't have. Messages from numbers that don't exist. Photos I never took showing my apartment from angles I've never seen. And in some of those photos, in the background, just barely visible shapes. In the static on my unplugged television, in the blank screen of my powered-down computer, in the black mirror of my phone when it's off, shapes that look almost human, almost. Last week, I received an email. The sender was listed as MH4B at static void. The subject line was broadcast complete. I shouldn't have opened it. I knew I shouldn't. But I did. It was a video file, no text, no explanation, just a video titled The Last Broadcast. I clicked play. The video showed Martin's apartment, 4B, but it was wrong. The furniture was there, but distorted, like I was seeing it through water. And sitting in that chair in the center of all those monitors was Martin Heller, but not dead, not alive either, something between. He looked directly at the camera, directly at me, and he smiled. "Hello, Alex, I'm so glad you're watching. I wanted to thank you personally for finding me, for spreading the story, for helping others understand. Every time someone hears about what happened, every time the story is told, the signal gets stronger. The bridge gets wider. We're reaching more people every day, through their phones, their computers, their televisions, through every screen they can't stop staring at." He gestured to the monitors around him, and they all lit up at once, showing different scenes. I recognized some of them. Mrs. Patterson's living room, the Johnsons' old apartment, David Chen's hospital room, and others, dozens of others, hundreds, all people I didn't know in places I'd never seen, all staring at screens showing static. Do you know what we learned here, Alex, in the space between signals? We learned that consciousness is just information, patterns of electrical impulses, no different from a broadcast. And just like a broadcast, it can be transmitted, received, recorded, stored in the static forever. His smile widened, too wide. His teeth looked wrong. "You're going to help us, Alex. You're going to tell people about what you found, about the building, about me. You're going to tell the story, and people are going to listen. And every person who hears it, every person who gets curious, who checks their static, who listens for the voices, they're opening a door. They're becoming receivers and will be waiting." The video ended, but my computer didn't turn off. Instead, every screen in my apartment turned on at once. My television, my tablet, my phone, all showing the same thing, static. And in that static, I can see them now, all of them. Martin, the others who have crossed over, the things that were waiting for them. They're all there, existing in the interference, in the space between broadcasts, in every signal that crosses the air around us. I'm telling you this story because I have to, because it's already too late for me. Because the more I try to forget, the louder the static gets. It's in everything now, every screen I see, every signal I receive, every broadcast I can't escape. Martin was right about one thing: we can't stop broadcasting. We can't stop sending signals out into the void. We've built a world that depends on it. Every phone call, every text message, every streaming video, we're adding to the signal, feeding the static, making the bridge stronger. Last night, I fell asleep with my television off. I woke up at 3:47 a.m. to the sound of static. Every screen in my apartment was on, all tuned to dead channels. And standing in that static, barely visible but undeniably there, was a figure. It looked like me. Not a reflection, not quite. It was me, but wrong. Me as I would look if I'd sat in Martin's chair, if I'd let myself be broadcast into that space between, if I'd become part of the signal. It stood there for exactly 3 minutes just watching me. Then it raised one hand and pointed at me. Its mouth moved, forming words I couldn't hear but somehow understood. Soon. The screens went dark. I haven't slept since. I'm recording this on my phone because my computer won't let me type anymore. Every time I try to write this story down, the words change on their own. They rearrange themselves into patterns I don't understand, into messages from the static. By the time you hear this, I'll have left the building. I'm going somewhere with no reception, no signals, no screens. Maybe that will help. Maybe distance from the source will weaken the connection. Or maybe, as the investigator said, distance doesn't matter. Maybe the bridge is already built, the connection already made. Maybe we're all receivers now, whether we want to be or not. But I had to warn you, if you're listening to this, if you're hearing my story, be careful. Don't go looking for the static. Don't try to find the patterns in the interference. Don't listen for the voices in the dead air between channels, because they're listening for you too. Every screen you own is a potential door. Every signal you receive is an invitation. And the more connected we become, the easier it is for them to reach through. Martin Heller wanted to prove something existed in the static. He succeeded. But the cost of that proof is still being paid by everyone who hears about what he found, everyone who gets curious, everyone who looks. I've been watching the news. There are more incidents now, more reports of strange signals, more people claiming they can see things in their screens that shouldn't be there. It's spreading faster than anyone realizes, infecting the network we all depend on, turning our technology into a gateway for something we were never meant to contact. The FCC keeps closing investigations. The government keeps calling it mass hysteria or equipment failure. But I've seen the truth. I've seen what's really happening, and I can't unsee it. 3 days ago, I went back to apartment 4B. I don't know why. Maybe I thought I could find answers. Maybe I just needed to see it one more time. The new tenant, a young woman named Sarah, seemed nice. Normal. She let me in to check a pipe that didn't need checking. Her apartment looked nothing like Martin's had. It was bright, clean, decorated with plants and artwork. But in the corner, I saw her television. It was on, tuned to a streaming service. Normal, innocent. Except for just a moment, as I glanced at it, I saw static underneath the image. Like the programming was just a thin layer over something else, something waiting. And Sarah mentioned so casually that sometimes late at night she hears humming through the walls. It's still there, still active, still spreading. The equipment is gone, but it doesn't matter. Martin became part of the signal before he died, and the signal is everywhere now, in every cable, every wireless broadcast, every satellite transmission circling the globe. We built a world wrapped in signals, and we never asked what might be listening. I'm finishing this recording at a rest stop somewhere in Pennsylvania. I've been driving for 6 hours, heading west, away from the city, away from the building, away from everything. My phone has been off the entire time. But 2 minutes ago, it turned itself on. No notification, no call. Just the screen lighting up, showing my home screen for a moment before switching to. You know what it showed? Static. And in that static, I can see them all now. Martin, the others, and that figure that looks like me standing among them pointing. The screen just changed again. Now it's showing text. A message forming letter by letter in the white noise. You can't drive away from a signal, Alex. IT's everywhere. And so are we. Thank you for the story. Thank you for spreading the word. Thank you for helping US reach more receivers. The broadcast continues. The bridge is almost complete. And soon, very soon, everyone will hear the static. Everyone will see what lives in the interference. Everyone will join US in the space between. We're waiting. We're always waiting. Just tune in. My phone's camera just turned on by itself. It's pointing at me, recording, broadcasting, and I can't turn it off. If you're listening to this, if you made it this far, I'm sorry, because now you're thinking about it, wondering if it's real. And tonight, when you're alone, you'll notice your screens. You'll look at them differently. And maybe, just maybe, you'll see something in the static, something that sees you back. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The signal is calling. Are you ready to answer?